There's pianist Louis Schwizgebel performing from his album called Poème that came out September 2013 on the Aparte record label. You heard Ravel, Gaspard de la Nuit. And Louis is in town to perform with the Winnipeg Symphony Orchestra tomorrow, Saturday, and Sunday. He's going to be doing music of Beethoven, and that's what I played for you just before the break. Louis was born in Geneva a few years back, and Swiss-Chinese pianist. Been described as an insightful musician by the New York Times and one of the great masters of the piano by the Res Musica. At the age of 17, he won the Geneva International Music Competition, and 2 years later, the Young Concert Artist International Auditions in New York. Second prize at the Leeds 2012 International Piano Competition, and he's performed with orchestras and conductors all over the globe, and he's in town in Winnipeg for the first time to perform with the Winnipeg Symphony Orchestra. Good morning, Louis. Welcome to Winnipeg.
Thank you.
And welcome to Classic 107.
My pleasure.
It's a pleasure to have you here with us. We're going to talk about the concert because that's why you're here, and we want to talk about the music that you're going to be performing. But first, I wanted to ask you, you've been playing piano when did you start playing the piano?
Well, I started when I was six and a half.
Okay.
I mean, my parents are not musicians. I don't come from a musical family. However, they are both artists, visual artists, and very music lover. I mean, they listen to a lot of. So when I was a child, we would listen to the radio a lot and go to the concert. And I started a little bit. We had this very old upright piano.
An old upright piano.
Yes.
That's okay. I remember we had one of those as well. Yeah,
like with the candle on both sides.
Oh, nice.
And then I started to with a teacher that a friend recommended, I became very quickly a passion, almost like an obsession. I was playing absolutely every day, and was not doing anything else for a long time. Yeah.
What were some of the recordings you listened to when you were young that really inspired you and something that really made you want to become a classical pianist?
I remember one of the first pianists I was listening a lot. It was Glenn Gould, actually.
Ah, Glenn Gould, yeah.
And I was fascinated by his recording of the Goldberg variation.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I was as well. I think a lot of people, where we play it often here, Glenn Gould's obviously a favorite, being from Canada.
Absolutely. Yeah.
And so you were listening to mostly classical music growing up, or were there other influences as well?
Mostly classical, yeah. I mean, as soon as I started the piano, I would listen pianists and try to imitate them.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Was one of them maybe Alfred Cortot? Because I know he's Swiss pianist as well.
Actually, much later that Alfred Cortot is one of my favorite pianists of the past. I mean, I didn't realize that when I was younger. Because Alfred Cortot plays some wrong notes when he played. And I was younger, I was focused by the perfection. But actually, no, I say Alfred Cortot is one of the most poetic performer ever.
So when did you decide that this is something you wanted to do as a career? I mean, there's a lot of people that take up the piano and are very good at the piano. Was there a certain point in your life you decided this is what you want to pursue as a career? And how did you go about that? I mean, it's one thing to decide you want to do it, but how did you go about sort of making it your career?
Well, when I started when I was 6, 7, of course I wanted to do that. Later it was a child dream. Mm-hmm. And then it somehow didn't change. I mean, I was always in my mind. I wanted to be a performer, to be a professional concert pianist, and it was always the same goal.
Mm-hmm. So when you were studying with your different teachers, was there something that they taught you that sort of stood you apart from other performers as well? Like there's a lot of solo performers on the piano. Yeah. How do you become one that stands apart from all the others? What are some words of advice that you got?
Well, yeah, that's a very complex question, actually, because
I'm not asking you to give away your secrets, but
no. It's something that it's true that when we learn music, we struggle a lot because there's so many different style and different approach, and we get very confused because of what we listen and also because of different teachers, and it takes really some time to discover your own approach and your own way of it's. I think it's a mixture of everything that you learn and you listen, and then slowly you create your own personality.
Now, would you say that comes more from your head or more from your heart? That sound, your original sound, is that something? Because when you're learning and studying music, it's probably a lot of it's in the head, learning the notes and learning how to read the music and understand the music. But when you develop your own sound, does that come more from your influences and your heart, sort of?
Well, I believe it's both, actually. It's really I think what makes a great musician is the ability to both analyze the piece, but at the same time to feel the emotion directly from the. It's really a combination, and it's both an intellectual approach and at the same time a more emotional,
soulful from the soul.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So I just want to mention I'm in the studio right now where I'm chatting with Louis Schwizgebel. He is in town to perform with Winnipeg Symphony Orchestra this weekend. He's going to be performing the music of Beethoven, the second piano concerto. This follows to this question that I want to ask you now about this particular work you're going to be playing, this Beethoven piano concerto. Beethoven, this was kind of a coming out period for Beethoven when he not only wrote, but he performed this kind of in public for the first time, because he used to just play, in salons. Yeah. And this is the particular work that really showcased him to larger audiences. So when you're approaching a work like this, Beethoven Piano Concerto, do you try to think of maybe what he was going through at that time, maybe some nervousness that he was going through, or his passion for the music? What is it that you try to bring to the piano concerto of Beethoven?
Yes, of course. I try to imagine his time, and it's true that this concerto with the first one, actually the second one is the first one he composed. It was a time where he was a performer, both performer and composer, and then he was not yet affected by the
deafness.
Deafness. Mm-hmm. And he was. You can feel in this music that he was a very brilliant virtuoso, very proud and very, very. I mean, you can sense his ambition in showing the world his ability and his talent. Mm-hmm. And in a way it's a very positive Beethoven, which, I mean, there's a lot of energy in this music. There's also a lot of humor, and it's very different from the later work, and you really feel this in his music. Mm-hmm. And of course, as a performer, when on stage, it is definitely something that is, very strong to have this in mind.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, at this point in Beethoven's career and in his life, as you say, he's not experiencing his deafness. Yeah. So he doesn't have as much anxiety, not as much angst in his music. Some later on, his music gets very, of course, very more.
There's such a. I was recently hearing all Beethoven in concerto in one concert, and there's such a big difference between the second and the third in the character of it.
Mm-hmm. And you've recorded number 1 and number 2 that I played from earlier. So just one last question. You're still fairly young. You've been playing for a long time. 28 years old you are right now, and You've already performed with some of the greatest orchestras in the world. There's London Philharmonic. You've done with the Berlin as well. You've performed at Wigmore Hall, which they say once you've performed a solo thing at Wigmore Hall, then your career is taking off, right? Are there any...
I don't know.
Yeah, that's what they say about Wigmore Hall. But are there any particular highlights? I mean, I know it's probably hard to pick out. You've done so many things. Are there any particular performances or people you've met so far that have really stood out to you?
You mean very recently? Or,
yeah, or you just in the last number of years, yeah.
Let me think.
That's too many, probably.
Last few years, I played first time in the proms.
Oh, BBC Proms, correct.
Proms,
that's right.
It was a big thing for me, and I don't know. I mean, more.
I named some of them: BBC, Berlin Philharmonic, and then London Philharmonic. You know, all those.
Yeah, the recording with them was amazing, especially the CD about on Beethoven First and Second Concerto, and more recently. I mean, I say 10 days ago I played in Ottawa with the National Arts Centre Orchestra.
Yes.
It was also a wonderful experience, and it was also Beethoven's Second Concerto.
It was all okay. So you're ready for this one?
Yeah,
this
I hope
week.
so. Yeah.
I hope so. Yeah. Well, no, thank you for coming in this morning, and welcome to Winnipeg. Hope to have you back again for sure. I've been in the studio chatting with Louis Schwizgebel. He's in town to perform with the Winnipeg Symphony Orchestra this weekend, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. He's performing the music of Beethoven, the second piano concerto of Beethoven. You can go to our website, classic107.com. We can link you over to get tickets to wso.ca. And I put a great video of him on practicing on two pianos. And it's really kind of neat as he plays with the left hand with one and the right hand with the other. Definitely want to check it out on our website, classic107.com. You can also see it on his website, louisschwitzgebelpiano.com, and find out about him and a lot more of his CDs.